guys. We're looking to get started here. So I just want to introduce myself in case some of you don't know me. My name is Jerry McNee. I own Automotive Collision in Edison. Essentially, I'm the new president of the AASP New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
So I want to thank everybody for coming out because I know it takes a lot of time to come out, especially during the day. But I think this is really important to have somebody like Todd here. Everybody can hear it firsthand. I know there's a few insurance guys in the room. I'm not going to mention who they are. Some of you guys know, but I think it's important that we share the information that we learn. And quite honestly, you know, maybe you agree or don't agree, but we have to coexist at some point, right? So I've always said it, talking to Todd a little earlier today, if you could explain it, and you could justify it, and you could document it, there's really no reason why it shouldn't be covered or paid for. So I also want to apologize for Charlie Bryant's not here today. He's actually got the flu. He was on his way here, and actually we told him to turn around and go home because he was sweating and coughing, and we don't need him to bring any of that stuff over here. So we'll have to get all this secondhand news. I'd like to mention Paychecks in the back over there, one of the sponsors. I know they do a lot for the association, a lot of shops, so if anybody has any interest in that, you know, stop back there and see these guys. Get what you can from them. Also, too, the trade show, the information for the trade show, the classes will be coming out soon, so keep your eyes open for that stuff coming out. It's going to be important. I think it's going to be the best show ever, and a lot of hard work has gone into it. And I know some of you guys know me, some of you don't. And again, talking to Todd, you know, what I notice about people in this industry, and it could be in any industry, and we were talking a little earlier, I see the people with the biggest bite or bark have the smallest bites. You know, there's 300 members, 350, I lost the count on the members, and you can see how many are actually here today, probably about 100. You know, so if you know anybody that should be here, really you should be poking them and kicking them to get them out here, because quite honestly, there is strength in numbers. Usual and customary, you heard me talking, you know, last, at some of my seminars that I do, usual and customary, that's what's going to change this industry. We can't do it one shop at a time. Everybody's got to start pulling in the same direction. So, I'm glad to have Todd here. I went down and seen him in Texas, got quite the operation. I'm sure they'll fill you in on some of the things that he's done in the past, and I'm glad you guys are here to actually hear it. Well, what I want to say is, what are you going to do with this information when you leave here? It's going to make all the difference. So if you're just here to listen, and you're going to go back and do nothing with it, well, and I'm not saying putting on the boxing gloves and get into a fight or a battle, but you've got to be educated enough to explain yourself. And you've got to be able to back it up and document it, and I think it'll help. So with all that being said, I'd like to introduce you to Todd Tracy, or as I would call him, the $42 million man.
All right, thank you. I don't talk loud today, so I don't have to use this. Just so you'll know who I am. My name is Todd Tracy. I'm a lawyer in Dallas, Texas, and I specialize in suing vehicle manufacturers. I've been doing it this will be my 30th year, and over the last 30 years I've tried 153 cases and have collected $1.6 billion in verdicts. We don't fuck around. I like to sue car manufacturers because they are the big boys. I do not like coming after guys like you, because guess what? You guys are on the front line of safety. You guys need to start doing a better job of advertising what you do. You're not repairmen. You're in the safety business, folks. The car manufacturers, believe it or not, they design, engineer, manufacture, assemble, and test these vehicles, and then you were the stewards of what they have put out there. So there's an old saying that happened in 1913 when Teddy Roosevelt was given a speech at the Sorbonne in France. And a famous portion of that was called "A Man in the Arena." And basically it means this: if you're going to sit on the sideline and bitch about the bad situation that's facing your industry, or facing your predicament in life, then get off your ass and get in the arena and be willing to get your face marred with blood, with sweat, with tears. And you may go down in defeat time and time again, but eventually, if enough people get in the arena, you will overcome. Now, for years, your industry has been beset with insurance companies that give a shit about one thing, and that's improving their bottom line. Insurance companies exist for one reason and one reason only, and that's to take your premiums and then to pay out so that they can then charge you more premiums later. They need to get out of the repair business. They've already fucked up the healthcare industry. They don't need to do it anymore to the repair industry. Because they're already, and guys or girls, whoever here that's from the insurance industry, I'm here to tell you that this is the right time, in the right environment, and we've got righteousness on our side because our customers want their vehicles repaired the right way. Why is that? Because the vehicles that they purchase is the second most valuable possession they're ever going to buy, short of their home. We live in a time right now where Donald Trump is our president. I have to try cases all over the country in extremely red states. I happen to come from an extremely red state, and we have actually adopted a lot of things that he says. Number one, we want, if you make a deal, honor it. Number two, protect your family. Number three, protect your job. Jesus Christ, folks, the first 2 points are exactly what you do for a living. You seem to forget who you're working for. You're working for the customer. I want you to think about that. Somebody last night in Pittsburgh, I'm going around and I have dedicated I'm going to dedicate the next 18 months and spend $5 million of my own money making certain that we put a stop to this bullshit and get the bullies out of your business. So I can go back to suing car companies. This lawsuit should never have happened. I should have been able to sue Honda. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And then we're going to give you the engineering, the science, and the biomechanical information that you need once and for all, that aftermarket parts are bullshit, and that improper assembly and improper repairs don't work. And I'm going to give it to you free of charge. And I'm going to give it to the insurance companies free of charge. Why? Because they don't know shit from Shinola about safety. Now, they can talk a mean game, and they can say, well, we've got all these safety stuff. Show me. Show us. Where's the proof? There's that old Wendy's commercial, that old lady said, where's the beef? Where's the proof? They ain't got no proof. It's just like their polls that they saw, all their statistical analysis that they talk about with regard to fair market value and what's a reasonable rate. Show me the proof. Who'd you talk to? When? What were the demographics? Show me the stabilized study. Basically, they never show up. So I'm on your side now because you're wondering, what the hell are we doing letting this shark come into our industry and be our spokesperson? Folks, you need a fucking warrior to come in here and take it, because what you've been doing, it ain't working. So it's time to do something different. Here's another story. You got 50 people around the country fighting the insurance companies. Why don't we make it 5,000? 5,000 shops at the end of January of 2018. By the end of the summer, why don't we make it 15,000 shops? The squeaky wheel will get the grease. But more importantly than just yourselves, I want you to think about this. Your customers have a voice too. They are the voice that's not getting heard by the insurance companies. You guys might as well have a frontal assault and an assault from the rear by combining forces with your customers. Don't let the insurance companies bully you into aftermarket parts when we got data that they don't work, and with improper repairs, we got data that they don't work. because they say, we've got testing others. We've shown you ours. You show me yours. They won't have it. And you tell that to the customer. You get the customer involved. So let's talk about the anatomy of a lawsuit. Why this $42 million verdict? Okay. 2010 Honda Fit involved in a frontal impact with a Toyota Tundra. Now, you start noticing some things right off the bat, that the roof panel on the side rail totally came off. Now, people that know nothing, I have a degree in applied physics, which is the discipline of engineering to physics. I've handled 500 roof cases, and I have never seen a roof perform like this. Because I know, just like you know, that a roof panel is a critical structural element of a vehicle. People that don't know anything about vehicles and don't know anything about structure will tell you, oh hell, it's a roof panel, serves no beneficial safety purpose whatsoever. They've never built a storage shed. Think about the storage sheds made with 2x4s. And you could put in spikes that are 55 feet deep into the ground, and that wall will still move just like this until you put a piece of plywood on it, because that is your shear panel. The roof panel is just like a shear panel on a storage shed. It ties it all together. It's separated on the driver's side, it's separated on the passenger side. We took it back to our office where we have 6 inspection bays. We also have a pendulum and then device so that we can actually conduct testing where we blow apart roofs and things of that nature. And we started looking at this and realized something is not right with this vehicle. The vehicle structural integrity, the safety cage collapsed. Because everything's tied together. It's like the musculoskeletal system of our body. Everything, my bones are all tied together. Everybody ever wonder, when you see some poor bastard that's, that's gimped up with his left knee because it's cold as shit up here, and then they realize, imagine it was cold like that for 6 months, and you start walking with a limp on your left side, by the end of the time it gets warm, you're going to be walking with a limp on your right side. Because everything's tied together, just like the roof. Just like the A pillar, and the B pillar, and the C pillar, and the header, and the side rails, and the rocker panel, and the seals. They're all tied together. So we originally filed it as a crash worthiness case, because guess what? That's what I do for a living. I like suing car companies. I used to defend them. I realized, my God, I'm on the wrong side. They're crappy. What is crash worthiness? Crash worthiness is the science of preventing or minimizing serious injuries or death following an accident through the use of the safety systems. Crashworthiness doesn't care who caused the accident. There is not a moral censor inside the vehicle saying, well, he's a shithead because he cheated on his algebra test in 11th grade. We're not going to protect him. If you had a drink today and you're going to blow, and you're not intoxicated, but you had an alcohol and you had some alcohol, and you're a Baptist. It's still going to protect you. And it's going to protect you if you're Jewish or Pentecostal, agnostic or atheist, Islamic. It's going to protect you if you're fat or skinny or tall or short or bald-headed or a hippie. Because our censors don't give a shit about who you are. They're the only thing in the world that doesn't discriminate. Think about it.
What about an insurance company CEO?
There is that exception. So what are the principles? Well, think about it. Look, maintain occupant survival space. I'm talking about, it doesn't matter if you're involved in a frontal, a side, a rear, or rollover. The occupants inside the vehicle are the precious cargo. Protect them. Don't crush their space. That's sacrosanct. Precious cargo. You manage, you distribute, and you channel the energy forces away from the occupants. over the occupants, around the occupants, under the occupants. Don't let that crash pulse and that energy wave go through to the occupant survival space and give them a big jolt of energy. Spread it out. You provide proper restraint throughout the entire accident. And I'm not just talking the 1 3/4 inch piece of nylon polyester webbing. That's just one of the many restraint systems inside a vehicle. Vehicles have front airbags, side curtain airbags, torso bags, head bags, knee bags. The seat is your primary restraint system in a rear impact, because in a rear impact, you go rearward first. In a side impact, your door is a primary restraint system, because if you have your lap and shoulder belt on, it's warm enough out there, roll your window down, put your seat belt on, lock it in place, see how far you can get your ass outside the vehicle. With 1G, you can get all the way out to your belly button, because the door and the seat belt can only provide so much restraint. So what are the restraint systems that keep you inside the car? The side curtain airbag, some of them call it side canopy system, or ejection mitigation glass. Everything's tied together like links in a chain. You prevent post-crash fires. And lastly, you prevent ejection. Those are all the principles. My whole career is based on 5 principles. That's why I keep telling everybody, hell, anybody can do it. There's only 5 things you got to remember. But something just didn't add up. We were going in the wrong direction, because I know I have been to numerous manufacturing facilities over the years, and I've seen their test protocols, and I've seen the work that they do, and you do not miss failing to put welds in place. And I knew exactly how many welds were supposed to be in place, because I had the weld map from Honda. And there were 108 welds of various types going through various panels, 2 panel, 3 panel, 4 panel, that we knew that was supposed to be there. So this is either the best manufacturing defect case in the history of the law, or something is up. So we went and bought an exemplary roof, just because I want to say, well, you know what, maybe the weld map they gave us really wasn't as good as they said. So we bought a series of roofs, just cut them apart and started looking through them. Every area that you see a black dot, that was a spot weld, totaling 108. Instead, we learned that they used an adhesive called 3M8115. Now, being the good lawyer that I claim I am, I never used the word adhesive at trial. I called it glue. How many of you had children that have had a kindergarten project and used Elmer's glue to glue those popsicle sticks together? How many of you have worked on those projects? Shitty parent. I see you. Let your wife do it, huh? I remember getting all shipped all over the place. I mean, gallons of Elmer's glue all over the place. And that's what the jury resonated, because I needed to find, my job is about smoke and mirrors. My job is about spitting. I feel a lot of times I feel like a political campaign manager spitting stuff. But that's my job. So we ruled out a design defect case, we ruled out a manufacturing defect case, and then we started going, what the hell happened? Why were there 108 welds missing? Well, so we go to the Carfax. Lo and behold, and imagine this, the Carfax never reported that the vehicle had had a new roof replaced. But by God, it had every oil change that it had ever had. That's important for safety. It had the time when there was a cigarette burn in the seat upholstery. That's critically important for structural integrity. But it didn't have anything to mentioning about a new roof. So, hell, somebody in my office, I wish I could take credit. I didn't think of. Somebody said, why don't you call the prior owner and ask him if he'd ever had a new roof put on? Why the hell did I come up with that? Sometimes sometimes, it's the most basic stuff, so I've got to give kudos to that, although they're not here talking to me. And lo and behold, they said, yeah, we never had an accident with the vehicle. We're going, shit, maybe we did, maybe it really is a manufacturing defect. But we did replace the roof because of hail damage. We had to replace the hood, we had to replace the roof panel, we had to replace the trunk panel because of hail damage. So we did a FOIA request, or actually a subpoena, to John Eagle Collision Center, and boom, we found out that John Eagle Collision Center had replaced the roof. Now, let me just give you an idea. John Eagle, don't feel badly for John Eagle Collision Center. They are a $1.2 billion a year entity. They sell cars like Aston Martin and Tesla and McLaren, Hondas, Land Rover, Jaguars, and they've got a few repair centers. So don't be saying, oh, poor John Eagle. They also had insurance through Chuck. Don't feel sorry for them because they got plenty of it to spend. So what do? Well, we decided to go after John Eagle. And this is what's really sort of fun when you get to start doing what I do. So I take the very first deposition that I take of their body shop man, and some of the stuff that he said was pretty critical. He talked about, how about number 3? John Eagle Collision Center has to comply with the vehicle manufacturer's repair specifications. There's my first rule. Number 6, a certified Honda body shop like John Eagle Collision Center is required to repair vehicles back to the vehicle manufacturer's safety specifications. Another rule. What kind of society do we live in? We live in a society of rules. And when you violate rules, somebody's got to pay. So what do we say? If a certified body shop like John Eagle Collision Center does not repair the vehicle to the manufacturer's repair specifications, and then someone is injured or killed because of the repair failure, their certified body shop is responsible. Boom! Liability established. I took it one step further. I said, and if it's not followed, the certified body shop is responsible for all of the harms and losses. I didn't need experts after this clown was done, but it kept getting better. Because we said, give me my rules manual. So we pulled out the 2009 to 2013 Honda Fit Body Repair Manual and said, this is what you got to follow. This is what you have to do. And nowhere in it does it talk about being able to use glue. But it gets better. Look at number 20. The 2009 and 2013 Honda Fit Body Repair Manual was John Eagle's Bible that they had to follow. Guess what we argued in the last, I get to speak first and I get to go last because I have the burden of proof whenever you bring a lawsuit. The last 30 seconds of my trial consisted of this. I don't know if you're religious or not, but no matter if you're not religious, we all know what the Bible says. If you don't follow the Bible, you go to hell. And hell is about fire. And they've already set my points. They all make it on fire. That's pretty powerful shit, folks.
Come up here, you back here.
Yeah, can't hear you.
Can't hear you. Pretty powerful.
Come in the middle.
You want me to use the mic?
Good.
Bible.
Good.
I feel like Joel Osteen now. I will open my doors to you when it gets cold, though, unlike that asshole who didn't with the hurricane did, because the carpets will get clean. So,
What did you say?
if you got a Bible and you don't follow it, you go to hell, and hell is full of fire, and you'd already got my clients on fire. That's a problem for John Eagle. I also established that John Eagle Collision Center violated I-CAR. Always follow vehicle maker procedures. And I also got them, because I knew what some of their offenses were. Well, you know, I mean, we did use this adhesive. Well, 3M specifically stated, guess what? You're not supposed to use glue on Honda roofs. You have to follow our standing operating procedure. I love this kind of stuff, though. If you brought your car into my shop, the insurance company is going to dictate how you're going to repair your car. This, folks, pissed off the jury. I thought you were the ones that were the expert. What are we doing to let the insurance company dictate safety? How about this one? The insurance company cannot trump the OEM specifications. Correct, sir? Well, yes, they can. Well, where does it say that? By not paying the bill. Folks, I'm going to give you some free legal advice. If you ever get sued, don't ever testify like this guy, because here's what happens. This guy established the following principle. We put profits ahead of our customer safety at John Eagle Collision Center. And you know what the jury said? Guess what we're going to do? You made a business decision to put profits over safety. We're going to make a business decision for you and offer every single dollar that was asked for. I didn't ask for $42 million. One of my associates did, and I said, why the hell did you only ask for 42? Shit, you could ask for 50. They were going to give it to you. Obviously, it was facetious. You always ask for more, and hopefully, who would have ever known they're going to give you to the penny? So how do we succeed at trial? You just talk about welds, missing welds, every single chance you get. You talk about glue, and then you start hitting them with the repair manual. And you talk about, the repair manual gives you, it's damn near idiot-proof. It tells you where to put them, how far to space them, how big to make them, how deep to make them, and you didn't follow it. And then, in the warning of the Bible, it specifically states, improper repairs can create an unsafe condition that can cause your customer or others to be seriously hurt or killed. Oh, honey. Talk about a crystal ball. We then talked about iCar. And what does iCar do? Their first rule, always follow OEM repair specifications. And they are not recommendations, because if it's merely a recommendation, then they don't have to be followed. But look, it says, must be followed. And we reminded the jury who's driving in the cars that you guys are repairing. Children, moms and dads, brothers and sisters. And we seem to forget that sometimes. Now, I don't think you guys here, but the people who aren't here today, maybe they're forgetting. Maybe they don't want to get in the arena because, you know what, they don't want to buck the trend. They don't want to get in the arena and get their face marred with blood, with dust, with tears. And they don't want to get defeated over and over and over again. But folks, if you're gonna get the kind of change that we need to get the bullies out of your business, you're gonna have to take some hits, and there's gonna be a few you're gonna have to shoot a hostage along the way. But guess what? You guys need to partner up. If you see one of your brothers or your sister companies going down the tubes because they have the grit to stand up, go on some business. Help them out. Because this is a long game. Now, it's so easy to sit there and go, wow, that guy was really fired up. Man, he fucking sounds like a Pentecostal preacher. I cuss like one, too. And I drink more. But I want you to think about this. It's easy to get motivated when you got somebody there that's passionate in front of you. What's difficult, though, is in 6 months from now, when nobody's in there yelling at you and trying to get you motivated, and they're just beating you down and they're short paying you, to sit there and go, I've got bills to pay. It's a serious horns of a dilemma that you're faced with. But you have to think of it bigger than this. If you give me 18 months, with the social media that we're doing, with all the speeches we're doing, with all the science and the engineering and the physics that we're doing, and the law that we're trying to change slowly, we will get them out of your hair. Because here's what's going to happen. The insurance company gets to pass along the cost anyway. This is a minuscule part of their business. They pay a hell of a lot more money in medical claims than they do property damage claims. And we've got to get the mindset changed that your customer are those kids. Because here's what's going to happen. If you don't start standing up for your customer, there will be that aggressive district attorney in a small little county in New Jersey that's trying to get reelected or trying to make a name for himself, and there's going to be some high-profile case, and somebody's going to be maimed or killed. And they're going to start doing a little digging, and they're going to go, why in the hell did this car fold up like a cardboard box? And they're going to come and knocking at your door, and they're going to come after the technician, and they're going to come after the business owner. Forget about money. Now we're talking about your civil liberties. When you start putting it like that, if you're having a bad day at work, go home. If you are taking your problems out at work and overlooking some stuff, go home. Your job is too important. You are too important to have a bad day. You're no different than a doctor in the surgical suite. And when you guys and girls start realizing that you are safety professionals on the front line, we're going to be a hell of a lot better off. And I firmly believe it. I am a firm believer that you guys are American heroes as much as the police officer, the firemen, the EMTs, the ER doctors, because what you do, you're our first people that we come to make my car safe. If you have something like this on your website, don't overpromise. Whatever you do, our goal is to achieve better than new. We consider anything less not good enough. Don't put shit like that on your website. Don't put stuff like, to restore the vehicle to its condition prior to the incident that caused the damage. Well, then where's the 108 wells? Hell, a first-year lawyer could have won this trial. Shooting fish in a barrel. Going to one of those stock ranches, where you're going to go shoot an African antelope, and they fed the goddamn thing, and he walks 15 feet out in front of you, and he stands there so you can hit him on the head with a ball-bearing hammer. This is easy stuff when you give them ammo like this. The glue manufacturer that John Eagle used knew that Honda required welding its roofs. The standard operating procedures by the 3M said, hey, it's only okay to glue if the OEM says not to glue. So we tried the case like it was a crashworthiness case. And we talked about crashworthiness principles because I'm too damn dumb to figure out negligence stuff. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. I didn't want to learn any new tricks. I like what I do, so I wanted to make this a hybrid case. So all I did is talk about the safety cage. And I talked about Honda and their H technology, advanced compatibility engineering. Doesn't that sound cool? It's all about distributing the energy over, above, around, through these channeling and distribution, the different types of steel. Looking at the megapascals, are we going to use high-strength steel? Are we going to use ultra-high-strength steel, such as your borons and the steel with martensite and ferrite, and trip steel, and complex-phase steel, and dual-phase steel? The kind of steel that you guys are having to work with on a daily basis now. I hate to tell you this, but the technology is moving so rapidly, you can't keep up. I guarantee you, those of you who got certified at the end of December, by the time Valentine's Day runs around, there'll be a whole new set of certifications going around because new material is coming out constantly.
carbon fiber material. Remember the old days where they used to put Kevlar in the doors of the Fiero? Oh, so that was so cool, having bulletproof vest material in cars and shit. Sheet metal did not matter. But look at the carbon fiber that we have now. Stuff is 600% stronger than the best boron steel that we have. That's right now, it's rated about 1,490 megapascals. That's good stuff. And we talked about the history of safety cages. Safety cages have been around. It's a term of art that's been around for 50 years. And we found this one from 1993. Safety isn't one thing, it's everything. And they talked about the very purpose of a safety cage, to surround the occupants. And how Honda designed it, there's the ACE. But they didn't design it to do this. They didn't design their vehicle so that the frame members underneath the occupants crushed. They designed it where it looked like this. The areas in yellow are designed to look like an accordion after an accident because we want to spread the load out. We want that load path and crush profile to be as long as possible because if you accordion the front rails, it's going to be distributed around the occupants. Like we see in this crash test. Frontal impact. Both rails, the left rail and the right front rail, both get engaged. Like we see here. This is the pre-test, left and right. Afterwards, it's crushed. Just like these collapsing canisters that you see on bumpers. These are energy-absorbing frame members. They have holes in them of different shapes called convolutes. The convolutes exist because they will crush at various force levels. What you may think, I mean, you guys know it, but your customer's going to come in there. I noticed all this stuff here when you tore my frame down. These frame rails, they've got little circles. Here's a circle. Here's a triangle. Here's a square. Why does it have that on there? Because the engineers know that it takes a certain amount of load to crush a triangle, a circle, a rectangle, called a convolute. Controlled crush so that you get what is known as stack up. You want to stack up the energy, you want to stack up the structure because we want to spread out the load as much as possible because you're going to see what happens in a minute when you don't do it right, what happens to the loads. With the crash test that I brought here today. Then we're going to get in the Seabotchan accident, we asked every witness this question. In the Seabotchan accident, the left and right frame rails of the Honda between the front bumper and the firewall did not permanently crush, deform, shorten, or bend. Everybody agreed with that. Oh, dear God. If it didn't bend, if it didn't foreshorten, if it didn't crush any, where's the energy going? Well, it was going to the frame underneath the occupant. We know what happens when you do improper repairs. This was a test that was done by Honda in 2014 out at SEMA. They took an Acura MDX and they repaired that vehicle. They took the door ring and they repaired the vehicle on an area that should never have been repaired because Honda specifically states, do not repair the door ring on the MDX. When they ran the crash test, amazingly, the door doesn't open. There's considerably more crush. The energy levels are considerably higher on the improperly repaired vehicle. Same thing here. If you repair the B-pillar improperly, if you try and repair the rocker panel improperly, you're going to get substantially more crush, which if you affect crush, you affect kinematics, which is the body movement. If you affect kinematics, you affect belt performance. You don't have to take that video. You don't have to take my word for it. I brought you the crash test that's going to tell you the story today. In our accident, because those frame rails in the front didn't crush, it crushed underneath the occupants. The frame crushed into the fuel tank. Fuel tank ruptured, caught on fire, and burned these folks alive and cooked them for a bit.
like, a hot rock, when you go and eat that Wagyu beef, and cook it for a bit. That's what it looks like. And for those that said she just had a good filling meal, I couldn't be a plaintiff lawyer without bringing some gory shit here later. So that's foreshadowing, folks. So repair shops are being bullied to not follow OEM specifications, and your customers suffer. Now, I will tell you this. It is my firm belief, and I believe the data will support me, by dictating improper vehicle repairs for decades, that insurance companies have seriously injured and killed thousands of customers who were driving around in time bombs and didn't know it. What might look like a beautiful, glossy vehicle with a nice paint job and a nice wax job, underneath it is a damn time bomb, an IED waiting to go. But I want you to remember this for a minute. And I know I preach it, and I've already said it once about remembering who your customers are, because
the streets of heaven are too crowded with angels tonight. There are students and our teachers and our parents and our friends. The streets of heaven are too crowded with angels. But every time we think we've measured our capacity to meet a challenge, we look up and we're reminded that that capacity may well be limitless.
too many, the streets of heaven are filled with too many angels tonight. If you're having a bad day at work, folks, stay home. Check out. You go tell your boss, say, you know what, today I can't do the job that I need to. I had a young man last night, I would never have picked him in a million years to sit on a jury. He looked like he was a Hell's Angel. And you know what he said to me last night? That touched my heart. And my wife will tell you that I don't have much of a heart. And he told me this. You've only talked about the liability side, the money side of it all. What about our moral side? The moral side that we have to our customers. It's the best thing anybody's ever told me. And I will remember and I will use that Hell's Angels moral argument for the rest of my time while I'm doing this. Now everybody thinks, why in the hell are you going to spend the next 18 months and spend $5 million doing this? I've had to do so much bad shit in my life to make the kind of money that I did, I figured I might as well do something to help my ass get to heaven, because I need all the fucking help I can get. This is my way to try to buy into it, okay? There are consequences, folks. If you're having a bad day at work, if you're not following the OEM repair specifications, if you're doing an improper repair, there are consequences. You break literally every bone in your body when your safety cage crushes like a tomato can. You burn your legs to the point that you were in the hospital for 2 solid years, to the point that you become a medical study at the UT Southwestern Medical School burn unit, because for once they actually have a live cadaver that doesn't have any skin left, and you can see the tissue and the cartilage and the ligaments, so they can study the metatarsals. Move your toe, and they studied him like he was a live cadaver. The moral aspect of it. He has to use fentanyl patches 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and will for the rest of his life, because as his burn doctor told the jury, every single second that he's not on the fentanyl patches is the equivalent of childbirth. That's what he lives with. Because the nerves burn so deeply, waving your hand over his leg is like catching him on fire. What didn't work for John Eagle? Really not much. They suggested the OEM specification and just recommendations. Clearly, they were wrong. You got to read them. It tells you right there that they must be followed. We started pulling out documents from the collision repair we were finishing
talking about how the technician is responsible for restoring it back to the OEM way. One of their arguments, and I'm all for the certifications that you men have, but the differences here are this. The OEM engineers have designed and engineered and analyzed every possible scenario they can so that the vehicle can pass a series of federal motor vehicle safety standards. They then hand it off to you gentlemen and you ladies. They hand off the baton to you. And it's up to you to do it right after that. No one's any better than the other. You have to work together, which brings me to this point. Why are the OEMs not giving you the repair specifications? I'm going after them. Why does Hyundai not put out anything? I'm going after them. Why don't they have some balls and come out there and say, aftermarket parts don't work? They're going to make more money using their own parts. Take a stand. Get in the game. Be a man in the arena. And I'm going after them. I'm telling them that in April when I go speak out at their conference that I speak at every year and a half for the last 20 years. They always like having me because at least I'm not a fucking talking head like all their assholes they bring out there. I always at least add a spark. And they like hearing the other side, especially after you get the crap out of them a couple of times in the previous year. Why aren't they doing that? Why are they charging you? They ought to be rushing to give you as much information as they can give you. Because together you're working for one common goal, and that's to protect people. That's where they're going to get sued next. Help me fight them. Bonding is more expensive than welding.
It's easy to use. It's safe. It saves time and increases profitability,
God, do they not
resulting in better quality repair than traditional welding.
Jesus Christ, man. Don't go in there and tell the jury, oh, hell, it costs more money to do this stuff. When the own documents that you produce this, I almost fell over in my chair. Like had a grand mal seizure in the middle of trial when they brought that up. Now, I mean, I asked the guy, my technician over there, I said, you know this thing? They just stepped into a pile of bear shit here. Everybody's bonding now. So, okay. How about the successor vehicle to the Honda Fit? Are they bonding their roof yet? Now, a lot of car manufacturers are going away from it because they're using different material, and that's great. But you don't go midstream and change the way the engineers designed it, and developed it, and manufactured it, and assembled it. That is not your job. That is not your right. Do not step outside your realm. Engineering, science, and physics proved the defense was not being honest. How do we know? Well, a big argument in the case was delta V, which basically means what is the amount of energy that it takes to crush a certain vehicle part, from a given point down to zero, and what is the change in velocity from a given speed over time. Okay. Well, one of the things they forgot is that whenever you do this argument called crush profile analysis, you don't factor in the area that we have marked in yellow, called free space. The dumbass that charged $125,000 to John Eagle thought that there was no free space in the vehicle. That's what happens when you don't take the hood off and you don't crawl underneath it. He never measured the car. We had to measure it for him over and over and over again so that we could give him the right crush profile. And don't ever get caught lying to the jury. He told this jury the left rail was crushed 17 inches rearward and the right rail was crushed rearward 7 inches. However, he seemed to forget this testimony, that the rails were not crushed at all. What crushed was the area underneath underneath the occupants. Those frame rails that were supposed to and designed to crush didn't crush because the roof didn't do its job. Now this is the best one. There's this computer program called the EdSmack Run. And the EdSmack Run basically tells us, points of rest, points of impact, and it tells you what the delta V will be. And so he gave us these stuff, took us all of 9 seconds to realize that he was lying. Oh, by the way, I think they dug this guy up out of mothballs because I hadn't seen Dr. Blaisdell in 20 years. I thought we dispatched him 20 years ago when I killed him in a General Motors case. Hadn't seen him for 20 years. They dug him up. And he put this in front of the jury. Watch what we're looking at here. We're going to show you some stuff. First of all, you see the circles? The dude cut and pasted his video over and over and over again to the point that I want you to look at this area right here. The dipshit then used a Post-it note to cover up important data that was over here. A Post-it note. Man, if you're going to commit fraud on a jury in a court in the United States of America, be better at it. Don't be bad at it. Know what's in the medical records. They kept trying to say, these are all deceleration injuries because the deceleration in the delta V is so high. Well, shit. Read the records where it says these are blunt force injuries. A roof is not a structural member. Wrong. I just used it. Hell, I spent $250,000 trying a case, and the best exhibit I had cost me $1. This little ladder. And I showed him, hell, say, imagine I got this thing fixed down here. This thing wiggles off, man, there's no foundation, structural stability whatsoever until I put this little flimsy piece of plastic on it because it's a shear panel. This shear panel ties everything together. And then we went to books that the repair industry uses. And over and over and over again, they talk about the importance of the roof panel and why the roof panel on some vehicles is not made of ultra-high strength steel because back in 2009 and 2013, you couldn't shape it and form it. They hadn't figured out how to do that right yet. We proved that delta V, that the defense was wrong by doing a crash test. Not only do you have to test the vehicle that you're in, but you have to test the vehicles that the other occupants were in. So if there's a delta V of something on one vehicle, it's going to have a corresponding delta V on the other. So we knew that the delta V that he said was 18.7 miles an hour. Now, at 18.7 miles an hour, the biomechanical literature is crystal clear. You will break your back if you go over the lap belt in what's called a roll out. So we did this test. In a far side impact with the 3-point seatbelt on, you do that over and over and over again because the seat belts are attached to the wrong place. I'm trying to change that. I'm trying the very first case in February, trying to get what's called reverse geometry seat belts in place. That test destroyed their theory. So 10 ways to avoid a $42 million verdict. You don't need to write them down. I'm going to give Jerry this presentation. He will put it up. Everything I'm saying here today will be on that slide, or will be on there. We'll download it. Always follow OEM repair specifications. Always follow ICAR. Never forget who your customer is. If there are no OEM repair specifications, research how to make repairs. You keep records and you keep your customers informed. Folks, it's 18 years ago. It's not 15 years ago. Today, we have to do research. We have to do CYA, and our folders need to be thicker by the time these things are done to cover your ass. Keeping the sharks out of the repair shop. Never overpromise what you can deliver on your website. If your shop makes repairs, report the repairs and keep records. Even if Carfax doesn't use it, call them up, send them an email. Hey, we did this. It's not our fault that they didn't put it on there. Give people a chance. Because remember this, the customer that you're working for may sell the vehicle down the line. Protect the public. Never put your profits over your customer safety. Never admit you're letting the insurance companies dictate how to repair vehicles. And be a hero. Be a hero. And stand up for your customer. Stand up to the bullies. And if they're not going to do it the right way and pay you, walk away from the job on that one. You're going to say, and I guarantee a lot of owners here, oh, hell, I'm a small businessman. I know all you're sitting there going, you damn fool, how are we going to pay the bills? You're going to pay the bills because karma's a bitch, man. What comes if you do the right thing and you live life righteously, you'll be okay. And not only that, but we got partners now. You've got corporate partners now that are going to help. It's not just 50 guys anymore. These are 5,000. It's going to be 15,000. We've got our customers backing us up. And most importantly, do it the right way. Get paid for what they're going to give you. Take the short pay and keep the records and hire my ass. I'll take 500 of you guys on as clients. How many of you think you write off $50,000 a year in the short pays? That turns into real money real quick. And I want to do it all over the country. Guess what's going to get the insurance companies to change? You guys are going to help. The customers are going to help. And the final leg on the chair is getting the sharks involved. It's a tough world out there, but sometimes the legal profession's got to get in there and kick in the cojones.
This is a time for American heroes. We will do what is hard. We will achieve what is great. This is a time for American heroes, and we reach for the stars.
Time for American heroes. Folks, this is the right time. It's the right environment. The right political climate. You got the $42 million man fighting for you. Let me do it. Let me take the lead on this thing. But remember to join forces. And I'm going to give you the ammo right now. Using science and engineering and physics to rid your shops of insurance bullies. So what we did is we took 2010 Honda Fit with aftermarket parts. All of them camp up, certified. We ran a crash test on IIHS, moderate frontal offset. That means 40% of the front is being engaged. Only one rail is engaged. This is what the crash test looks like. You'll have it all. I mean, and I'm telling you, it's going to be a 300-page report per test. The test, photographs after photographs, you're going to get everything you want. I wanted to give you a snapshot of it, okay? We then took another 2010 Honda Fit and we put the roof on with adhesive. And we put an aftermarket vehicle, an aftermarket windshield on. We were not trying to replicate the roof coming off because this was a completely different kind of test scenario. The reason the roof came off in the Seabachon accident is because the A-pillar was impacted directly. I needed to do a test that was formal, that was universal, and that is recognized by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. I didn't want to give the insurance companies any ammunition to come in there and say, where in the hell is this test from? So that's why we did the IIHS test. And that's called the red test. And we ran that test the same way. And then we did the black test. An OEM 2010 Honda Fit, no changes.
just the way it came out of the factory up in Marysville. And we ran the test. We followed the protocol to the letter. In fact, we went beyond the protocol. You guys needed to be able to give ammunition to the insurance companies on what are the accelerometer tracings and the load cells. I want to see data plots for the frame, and I want to see data plots for the feet, or for the tibias, and the ankles, and the floor pan. That's not part of the IIHS. I wanted to be able to give you the data so that you could give it to the insurance companies so that they can go back to their supervisor and say, you know, these guys are right. There's no reason why we should be adversarial with the insurance companies. They should be in the same business that we're in, and that is, you've taken our customers' premiums, and we should all be striving to do one thing, and that is to put the vehicle back into as safe a condition as possible, so that in the event that it's involved in the inevitable future accident, you don't cause death and catastrophic injury. Because guess what? In the long run, Mr. Insurance Company, you're going to be on the hook. Think long game. Don't think short game. And if you have to spend some more money on the repair, jack up the rate next time. Now, I want you to look at these tests, and I want you to, and initially, as you look at them, you go, well, hell, there's not a damn bit of difference on these things. Until you start peeling the onion back. And as old Paul Harvey used to say, and now for the rest of the story. You got to remember about vehicle design. A vehicle design starts on a blank piece of paper. And they design every aspect of the vehicle to work together, to be tuned together, to work harmoniously together. So, when you start peeling back the layers of the onion, we start realizing, geez, the vehicle that had the aftermarket parts crushed 35% more than the OEM vehicle, and the glued-on roof vehicle crushed 20% more than the OEM vehicle. So we gave you some photographs. Deformation? Deformation? That's okay. This is your line of demarcation. Down in Texas, at the Alamo, William Travis says, this is our line of demarcation, folks. Don't cross our line. You don't cross the line beyond the firewall. Folks, this is our firewall. This right here is underneath the driver's seat. This is underneath the driver's seat, and this is the fuel tank. And guess what? On the aftermarket vehicle, fuel tank separated. And here's why. You want to see some proof? Here's why it did it. Because the vehicle structure failed to perform as designed, and it never achieved stack up. Structural stack up is so critical to spread out the load. You wanted scientific and engineering proof? This is the best exhibit you've got, folks. Off the chart failure. Identical test, CAPA approved parts, failure after failure because the structure doesn't work harmoniously with the other parts. Roof adhesive, crushed underneath the driver's seat, but didn't crush back behind the driver's seat. That's okay, but it's still crushed in a different manner. Why? Because the roof did not provide a sufficient energy pathway. How do I know? The proof's in the data. Look at all the engineering spikes. No damage underneath the driver. No damage to the fuel tank and the OEM. Restraint system performance affected by improper parts and repairs. Safety systems are tied together, okay? I want you to watch this next one. On the aftermarket parts, because the energy stack up, the engineering wasn't doing what it was supposed to because the structure was failing so rapidly. The right front passenger dummy had 13 inches of forward movement. When you have 13 inches of forward movement, you're going to be so close to the airbag when it fires, it's going to throw you back on rebound in such a manner it's going to cause problems. We're going to show you that. The roof adhesive, 12 inches. Why is that? Because of energy. Only 8 inches on the OEM because its designed intent was to allow only that. Safety systems have a direct correlation to proper kinematics. Watch the movement. Right front of the, I want you to look at the upper right corner. That's the aftermarket. Watch on rebound when he breaks his neck. He actually broke the post for the head restraint. Look at the OEM. It rebounded perfectly in the center of the head restraint. Injuries start with the weakest link. Once that link is broken, subsequent failures will increase the potential for injury. Head injury criteria. The one that performed the worst for brain damage was the roof with the vehicle with the glued-on roof because the energy spiked so rapidly. The aftermarket parts was second worst, and the reason it didn't provide any brain damage to the occupant was because the legs were getting cut off. How do we know that? Because of this one right here. 500 newtons for the roof, for the roof adhesive, 500 newtons for the aftermarket parts. Honda OEM's 250 newtons. At 300 newtons, folks, your neck's broken. Left femur, roof adhesive, 800 newtons. Aftermarket parts, 1,700 newtons. The OEM, 180 newtons. Folks, you're walking around with broken legs now, upper legs, okay? And this is why. If you start looking at if you start looking at cracks, separations, nothing on the OEM because the structure did its job. And then the piece de resistance, where they call it the driver toe, is the toe board, where your feet are, where your ankles are. Roof adhesive, 150 Gs. Aftermarket parts, 180 Gs. Honda OEM, 65 Gs. At 80 Gs, you start breaking parts, bones. If you look at the footwell, the floor pan, and the toe board, it's considerably different because the vehicles didn't perform the way they were designed because of improper material and improper assembly. What does it prove? And what can you use it for? You finally have test data that you can show to them. They can put it on a flash drive and give it to the insurance companies. The insurance companies, I hope that they will be receptive. If there's any insurance people in here today, I apologize if you feel offended, but you know what? It's time to get educated. It's time to have an open mind. The human mind is like a parachute. It works best only when open. And you need to open up your minds, folks. Because I will tell you this. We are at a defining moment right now. We're either going to let the status quo go by and your rates are going to continue to go down. You're going to continue to get the short pays time and time again. Or you're going to stand with me and we're going to do something together. Because I will tell you this, in this country, we used to do big shit. We used to do great stuff. And I don't think I could say it any better than this clip from the show, The Newsroom.
We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. We sacrificed. We cared about our neighbors. We put our money where our mouths were, and we never beat our chest. We built great big things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured diseases, and we cultivated the world's greatest artists and the world's greatest economy. We reached for the stars, acted like men. We aspired to intelligence. We didn't belittle it. It didn't make us feel inferior. We didn't identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election. We didn't scare so easy. We were able to be all these things and do all these things because we were informed.
The whole idea behind these organizations like that you belong to are getting a collection of caring business owners and safety professionals together to learn. If you don't do anything with it, then shame on you, because the time is right, the climate is right. We've been given a platform, and if you want to call me directly, there's my cell phone. I'll pick it up. I'm willing to fight for you. Are you willing to fight for yourselves? That's the question that needs to be answered here today. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
That's what I was just going to ask. Anybody got a question?
It's not really a question. The only way you're going to get the insurance company and stop them is to get some of the CEO in handcuffs and lock them up.
Well, you get an over-aggressive district attorney. Look what happened to Dakota engineers.
They all are paid by the insurance company.
I understand, but remember this. Did you ever think that you would have Volkswagen engineers and Takata engineers being sent to prison? It's happening right now.
That's
It's
the way
time.
we have to go, because for the past 40 years we've been fighting, and we're still where we are.
You're still, but it's only a handful of you. It's time to get a groundswell movement together. You're not going to have a change when only a handful of you. Would you agree with me, sir, that you've been fighting for 40 years? But we need everybody in this room. We need your entire, why the hell don't we have your entire organization here when somebody's coming up here and willing to stand up there and fucking fight for you? That's what you ought to be mad about. You ought to be righteously indignant about this. I'm willing to stick my money where my mouth is and put my ass on the line, put my law license on the line, and fly around the country. I'm going to speak to every state 2 times over the next 18 months. I'm going to get the message out any way I can. I hope to see every single one of you when I come back here to your program in March, I think it is. I'm coming back from my spring break vacation because it means something to me. It ought to mean something to you. That doesn't mean I'm going to make a fucking payday out of your goddamn right. But you know what? It ought to be something to do, because I'm going to try to make some money for you too, and I will do that. Give me some data. Give me some help.
All right, so my question is this, and first of all, I appreciate everything you're saying, 100%. But that specific lawsuit, how is that the insurance company's fault? That the idiots who put that car's roof on,
That was that State Farm's fault?
how is that?
Sure.
That's me. I'm not gluing that roof on. When if they tell me you have to, absolutely not.
Well,
So-
State Farm specifically went in there, and one thing that we didn't want to do,
We didn't want to do at that trial was really focus too much on State Farm and what State Farm forced them to do. That's for another day. State Farm had gone into this shop and sit there and said, you will bond roofs, and they followed.
I'm with you with everything else. Don't get me wrong.
Hey, if I got a gun to your head, okay, if I got a gun, I got a 45 stuck to your head and say, we pay you $400 million a year, and we're gonna pull the $400 million a year, or you're going to do this fucking bonding, which way are you gonna go? I know, they said, I understand. That's why you're here, because you care. We gotta get those other 200, we gotta get 2/3 of your members here caring. You gotta start that with getting rid of DRPs. All right, how are we going to do that? Well, first of all, you're going to get rid of DRPs because you guys are professionals. Just because you have a DRP in place doesn't mean you know shit from Shinola. In fact, you guys have got to sit out there and start doing a better job of talking about we are safety professionals. Those other guys are repairmen. There's a distinct difference between the third of you and the 66% of you that aren't here today because they only care about the paycheck. They don't care about the moral aspects. They don't care about when the car drives off and it's held together with duct tape and baling wire. Those days have got to end.
Fixes bicycles. Bicycles. Guess how much an hour?
$100. Makes more than you can. Yes, sir.
You say you get yourself involved and they contact you. With short pays in the past that I've done, to get the lawyers involved, there's most of the cases, and a lot of the cases are relatively small. I've worked with Charlie in the past with this, Eric Everton, and what they talked about doing, some of the attorneys that we had at a meeting, they wanted to handle it more as a class action lawsuit.
And
So with that said,
let me tell you my vision.
All right. My vision is not to do a class action. I don't like class actions because in class actions, the lawyers make a killing, the companies make a killing, the experts make a killing, and the client gets screwed. My goal, my objective here is not to do a class action, but to, if let's say you've got 40 short pays through 5 different insurance companies. I'd file them all individually. I'd file all of the State Farm, the Travelers, the Progressives, the Geicos. I would then tag that on to your 30, to your 42, to your 16, to your 23. And guess what? We then have individual cases because your damages are going to have to carry the day. Class actions of the people always get screwed because there's a matrix. I am against them. I fought them my whole career. I hate them. There will be no class actions from the $42 million man. I'm going to take them individually, and you're not going to get charged a penny because I'm going to get so damn many of you that it's going to be worth hundreds of millions of bucks.
well, the other side of that has been that the attorneys here, if they fight them, you know, most of the time they go into court and they're settled out of court 50-60% maybe what the short pay is. Because going in front of the judge, jury, what have you, you're setting a precedent. And then if you lose, I mean, you're a competent guy, I love everything you're saying, but if it's lost and there's a precedent set, then that's where the flip side, that's where their fear was, not knowing what the flip side is.
You know, when the first airbag came, years and years ago, before a case called Ramos versus Ford, Lydia Ramos versus Ford, the car manufacturers were 62-0. Lydia Ramos comes along in a case in Dallas County, Texas, and I hit Ford for $65 million. And since that time, the car industry has lost 70% of the cases because they followed a new dynamic. The whole idea is you got to change
and not to go in there and settle these things dirt cheap and forget worrying about the precedent. Shit, we know what the precedent's going to be. They're going to drive you all out of business. So we might as well go there and go for the grand slam.
Agreed, but that's where the...
Well, then you better get a lawyer with some fucking balls. Represent you. Okay?
I get what you're saying, and I agree, but that's where you're being told.
Well, I understand it, and I'm sure that there are. I mean, but ask them if they've ever tried a lawsuit. Ask them if they've ever put it all on the line. Every time I go to trial, I put it all on the line. I mean, man, this is a rough and tumble business. This is not for the faint of heart. I'm not here to make friends. Yes.
One of those short pay cases. So we've done all our research, we've gotten all the OEM procedures, we know how to repair the car, make it safe again. How do we document the other side is not going to pay us? What's your advice on how
Well, I mean, you know exactly what it's going to cost to bring it back to the OEM, correct?
Right. How
To
do
the penny.
how do we document that they said that?
You know, send them an email sitting there saying, we told you specifically that the OEM, that we have to follow ICAR. This is what it's going to take. You believe in profit oversight. Start putting good stuff in your emails. That way it makes for a good soundbite at trial. Okay? You obviously care more about profit than you do my customer. You don't care about my customer, I do. And I want you to do the right thing, and you refuse to do the right thing because you care more about money. Start putting stuff like that in there. Always remember this. Everything you send to an insurance company, consider it having an exhibit sticker on it. And the first line needs to be the best line, so that the jury can look at it and go, Jesus H. Christ, what is this all about? Everything you send has a purpose. The first purpose is Exhibit 1. You need to go find some lawyers that's willing to go out there and put it on the line and fight for you. You guys have been fighting for your customers for 40 years. It's time for somebody to fight for you.
Answer Jason's question. A notice of deficiency, I think is what we do.
What's in here?
A notice of deficiency. You
Okay.
write that up explaining everything that they're missing and send it to them as documentation proof that they're not recognizing all the procedures that you recognize that are required.
Now, I will tell you this. You guys and gals are going to use some phrase, because I don't know shit about your business model. But I'm willing to learn. So I'm going to have to be taught along the way. That's the one good thing about me is I listen and I learn and I adapt and I overcome and I improvise where need be. I'm going to need a lot of help along the way. So I'm just telling you, you need to get with somebody that's willing to go out there and stand toe-to-toe with them. I don't care if it's me. I don't care if it's somebody from New Jersey or Erica Eversman is, I'm telling you, she is an encyclopedia. When I was giving a speech with her at SEMA, she's like an idiot savant on this shit. It's incredible. I mean, she's a walking textbook on this stuff. She's like Rain Woman. That's a compliment, actually. She's brilliant. I mean, but I don't know if she would be a perfect lawyer to back up a trial lawyer. You need a loudmouth to go win your case. And you need a technical lawyer backing up the trial lawyer.
I couldn't read the slide.
That's intentional so we can confuse the shit out of it.
What exactly were the aftermarket parts put on that car? Can you tell me
Oh. Well, I know, okay, the hood, the radiator core support, the front fender, the left front wheel, the windshield, and the side glass.
That's it?
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's all listed on there. Everything that was done and included in the test protocol you're going to, or the test that you're going to get, is you will get all the receipts for all of the parts, along with videotapes of everybody what they did to it, so that nobody can come in there and say, well, hell, you know, you didn't put it on properly. The welds that they did held up better than the OEM.
On that crash test, did they ever rebuild the car with OEM parts to see how close it was to the original? Like the OEM support, OEM
Well, we've got an OEM vehicle there.
No, a repair OEM vehicle.
Oh, no, in fact, that was a question.
Just to show OEM parts.
Right, and that's going to be, there's a second round of tests coming. And that's the first test that's going to be done, is we will use genuine parts to do it. Okay, then we'll run the same test, okay? That's correct. And I think if somebody wanted to do because there are some facilities that still want you to use the occasional used part or salvage part, which is a disaster, but we'll do it. All right? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. In the past,
Here, I'll come over there and say, or keep, till I'm tired. I got another one of these tonight from Long Island.
In the past, some of us shops have repaired and put OEM parts onto the vehicles. How do we go back and protect those consumers that the insurance company had made us use these things? I'm talking people 3, 4, 5 years ago. How do we go back and protect them?
Well, here's the problem. I mean, the chances of you finding those customers are probably slim and none.
Well, if we do find them.
If you find them, I mean, I hate to tell you this, but legally you have no responsibility to do that. Morally, if you know that you put substandard stuff on there, you might want to make that phone call, but I guarantee you, you're subjecting yourself to some potential shit there. You might want to stay away from that and just start doing it from this point forward.
What if somebody got into an accident that I fixed a car 4 years ago and this inadequate part failed?
Well, let me ask you this. What was the due diligence that you undertook when it was done initially? Did you follow the OEM? Was there an OEM specification available?
I'm just talking basic sheet metal for the hood, the fender, if that performance did fail. How do I mean, there's cars that, because I am a direct repair with certain facilities, states and manuals that I put it on, and then it would even call the customer and explain to them that they're putting an aftermarket part on. The general people don't know what aftermarket means. I mean, if you walk up to a woman and you say to her, well, your car's made with Cheerios, but now I want to put O's on it. She's going to look at you and say, that's disgusting, I wouldn't eat that. They don't explain it to them like that.
Well, from this point, here's the way I would answer your question in 2 parts. Firstly, I would stay away from your customers from the past. We need to focus on the future, okay? Those folks that are out there, God Almighty, pray to God that nothing happens. We need to focus on the future. On the future, the way you explain aftermarket is there is a distinct difference, and you will hear 2 schools of thought on aftermarket. Some people believe that aftermarket are just the same as genuine parts. You've heard of the old GM genuine parts, Mr. Goodrich parts, whatever it may be, okay? There's another school of thought out there that aftermarket parts are dog shit. We did not know the answer to that. We had our beliefs because we were constantly having problems with the aftermarket parts fitting properly and not having the same attachment mechanisms as the OEM genuine parts. But we went one step further and we did a crash test with Kappa certified parts, and lo and behold, the aftermarket part vehicle performed worse than anything. There's your data. That's what you use from this point forward, starting on January, whatever the hell it is, right? Oh, okay. But that's what I start. That's what I focus on. You want proof? Here it is. Yes, ma'am. Well, okay, that's a good question because I had no idea who Kappa is. Well, I was telling, what's interesting is that there's an old legal axiom called ipsi dixit, which basically means, because I say it so, it must be so. But the next follow-up to that principle is put up or shut up. Now, I don't know how you say that in Latin, but I think in New Jersey, I think you guys know how to put it rather eloquently. All right? You guys do not know. I mean, you guys are a lot like folks from Texas here. You got to have some thick-ass skin to live up here because, I mean, you fuckers are tough up here. That's why I like it. Okay? I mean, but I tell you what,
Show me the proof. If an aftermarket parts, if an insurance company comes into my body shop tomorrow and I'm the owner of it, or I'm the technician of it, and says you're going to use aftermarket parts and they're just the same, show me the test. I want to see the crash test. I want to know, and I want to see the crash test film. I want to see the crash test photographs. I want to see the data plots. I want to see the accelerometer tracings. Well, I don't have that. Well, I do. Let me show you what happens when you do it, when you use science and you use engineering and physics. The aftermarket parts perform worse than everything. Who is Kappa? I have no earthly idea. It's probably like one of these companies that get together when you see the top 10 steakhouses in the country, and it's these fuckers getting together, 10 steakhouses get together, and they say, we're the top 10. I bet that's what Kappa's like. Well, I mean, but the reason you do it is because you want it. I think one of the tests we're going to do is we're just going to use somebody's, I think somebody wanted to do a test where it was non-certified parts, just everything, just not, maybe do some Taiwanese parts, some Chinese parts, and, they're all crap. I mean, but you got to, here's the thing, you got to have the data. Because we're not going to have these talks anymore where we don't have data backing us up. You got a scientist here. I'm willing to do the science, even though I made a C- in science. Okay?
First, I want to say thank you. I do claim settlement work, and I've used Charlie Bryant's information many times to win against insurance companies. And when I have the same here, and I want to make sure everybody out there is he's presenting evidence that you can use, not to fight the insurance companies. Explain it to your customers. They have kids. They have kids on the roads. Show them. Get a copy of this video. They come in, let them watch it. Say, hey, this is why I don't want to put on the market. car. I'm Nancy Rivera. I do clean settlement work. I don't own the shop. So I pretty much advocate for this.
She's hired. Anyone else?
Most insurance policies are considered to be somewhat of a binding contract. The language that's in among that language is that they reserve the right to use aftermarket parts or parts of like, kind, and quality. And in the past, as well as in the present, the insurance company's response when you present them with certain facts is that if the customer wants an upgrade, then he or she or they should pay for it. Where does that leave the shop?
All right, good question. I had that, and I'm ready for it because I had that question in Pittsburgh.
It also says they must perform the same, which form is exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
You can show them, if they can prove that it's going to perform the same, you can use it. If they can't prove it.
Right, so it's a twofold answer that I gave last night. Number one, I've been a proud Chubb insured for 25 years. I have never signed a contract. How many of you sitting in here have renewable contracts year after year and you don't sign a renewal every year? How many of you? So do your customers. So that argument's going to be void because, okay, well, I got a brand new car. We're showing my signature on the present policy. Oh, I got one from 15 years ago. Shit, I've changed insurance companies 3 times since then. That's the first point. The second point is it also states that it has to perform in a safe manner. That's what you got the testing for now. You guys have all been talking about in hypotheticals. Well, we do not believe, like the insurance company sitting there saying, we believe this, we believe that, we believe this, we believe that. Finally, somebody went out and did it. The insurance companies weren't going to go do it. You can't tell me that they haven't had the testing done. They have. They have had a company called Exponent, formerly known as Failure Analysis Associates. They They have done the testing. They know the answers. And that is locked up in a vault somewhere. You finally have the data, and you're going to bring it out in the open in the daylight. And we're not going to hide it from the insurance companies. If the insurance companies want to challenge the data, and they want to say, well, why didn't you do that test? We're going to do that test. Every time they criticize it, we'll run a different test. Crash testing's cheap compared to what you're dealing with here. Human lives. Because human lives matter. I want you to think about this for a minute. You know, in the military, pilots that are flying F-35As, that's an $85 million fighter plane on the cheap side. The real good ones cost $110 million. And the first thing we tell our pilots when the engine goes out, or their avionics go out, eject to live another day and ditch the plane. Why is that? Because human life is of paramount importance. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's in our Bill of Rights. It means something. We will spend millions of dollars to rescue a captain that was captured by Somalia pirates. We will spend millions of dollars rescuing a stranded mountain climber because life is precious. And life is precious is what you guys do. You make it precious so that people can come home at night. Moral arguments? Yeah. Business argument? Yeah. Liability argument? Sure. All three things. What you do matters. Yes, sir.
During your litigation, when you were taking depositions of Eagle, is it Eagle that you were suing?
What's that?
The name of the company that you sued in Texas? Eagle?
Yeah.
Did you ask if that, knowing how big that company was, I presume that they were DRPs for everybody, all the insurance companies?
I don't know, and I didn't ask.
Okay, well, in those contracts, they hold the insurance company harmless of any defect, repair, or repair process.
That's fine, they did, but they stand in the privity with it, but it's not your customer.
Well, the question that I'm asking is, did you ask that question, in fact, Eagle, by signing these contracts, indemnifying the insurance company for any liability, and leaving them out of the picture?
I didn't, only because of the fact I didn't know to.
Okay.
I was focused on this one. I wasn't even thinking about State Farm at the time. You know, I mean, because I knew this trial was coming up and I had no idea.
I'm in business maybe 49 years, and when I first started in business, I was a ERP shop for State Farm for about 6 months, and then chose not to. I don't have anything against anybody that has an ERP system. It's a choice that they make. It's a business decision. Ultimately, it has an effect on the market, something that we have not been able to cure in the 48 years, 49 years that I'm in business. But these DRP contracts, that's why when you asked about contracts, I was wondering if they were saying about contracts that they signed with insurance companies or contracts between them and the customer.
I bet I get this. I'll get the contract in the State Farm case, because there's a State Farm case spinning around now.
Okay.
We're going after them to open up their books.
Okay, so what I'm saying to everybody in here,
Yeah, but we're giving it away.
if in fact they're signing away their, like when you get insurance, does that insurance company know that you're taking on the liability for the insurance company when you sign the contract for repairs? Are you following what I'm saying?
I am, but remember, that's for the insured and the repair facility. My person was not the insured. Mine's a third party. It's not a first party. Different situation.
Well, I'm just saying, if in fact they signed this waiver where the body shop is solely responsible, yet they're following the procedures the insurance companies don't do, does that some way tie them in somewhere down the line?
I don't know, we're gonna have to find out. I mean, I may need to talk to you, maybe you can help me along.
With regard to that, if Eagle Collision was a $1.3 million company and this happened, who are you going after in this lawsuit?
The second one, we're going after State Farm.
Well, no, I'm saying in this one, if they weren't 1.3 billion or 1.3 million, you're not going after Eagle Collision and wasting your time. You're going after 3M or State Farm, and you're gonna look into that.
I'm gonna go spin it the way that I make the most money. I'm gonna go after 3M, I'm gonna go after somebody, but my job is to get as much as I can and make everybody look bad along the way. As long as they got a deep pocket, I hate to tell you that, but the reality of it is it's all about the coin. And there needs to be deep pockets, but guess what? You know, I mean, like I was saying earlier, well, most lawyers don't want to take a single case against travelers for $3,000 in short pay. No, I wouldn't either. But I'll take 500 of them because it turns into real money real quickly. Okay? And I handle cases in 42 states at a time. So, but there are some good lawyers out there that are willing to go ahead and hang it out there and let it get walked off. You're coming back in March? I hear I'm coming back in March, right? Yeah.
Maybe we should try to have the certified company here, stay at home, and their policy and all the research they do.
We'll have a debate. I love it.
Well, maybe this board is not.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's something that the board obviously could look into. If that happens, I don't know if they'd be willing to come into the lion's den, but, you know.
But I tell you what, I've heard there's some insurance guys here today, and you know what, and kudos to you. Because, you know, hey, I don't know who's here from the insurance companies today, but you know what? I give you kudos for doing it because you know what? You've got the intellectual curiosity to come here, maybe to learn something, because maybe there is some humanity in the industry after all. Because I hope to God you go back and you say, the guy might have been full of shit 99% of the time, but 1% of the time he actually made some sense. And maybe we need to start listening. So I don't know who you are out there, but I hope you do go back and report something favorable because the testing's important. You look like an insurance guy. Everybody get the arena.
What's the statute of limitation? How far back do you want to go? I got filed
Well,
maybe
there's
15, 20 years now.
Well, you can go back 4 years.
4 years.
4 years, because it's a breach of contract, basically.
That's about a couple thousand files. At least.
All right.
You'll hear from me too.
Oh, 6 on a contract? 6 on a contract here in New Jersey.
I go to the city,
Okay. All right.
Actually, a former insurance guy.
Okay. How you? Got a good haircut. What do you think? I'm talking to you. The prettiest girl here. What do you think? What do you think? I don't know. You're not going to talk? I had that same effect on all of them. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I'm going to say in summary, my opinion is you're to have to force to figure out how to get the insurance companies to fix the cars properly. We're talking about with OEM parts. Body shops unfortunately are working at the direction of insurance companies, like it or not. Customers are being convinced that aftermarket parts are better than new. So for us as an industry to get away, I think it's probably the toughest part. To me, if you're going to go after somebody or sue somebody, or whatever you're trying to when you do it, but really you say to the insurance company, we want to become reliable, putting cars back together, or have to work in cars, moving, what have you, they become really the person.
At the end of the day, we've got to go after the insurance companies. That is the last leg of the chair. Until they start getting sued, time and time again, they're not going to do anything.
But it's no different than being a doctor saying we didn't run our 4 to 5 tests because you wouldn't allow those tests. You wouldn't pay for it. So we made some bad calls on the surgery because we couldn't get to that step. I think that's where our insurance is really. Not the competitive insurance is really saying it's not money. Then they realize you're not putting cars back together properly, and your sheet metal's not working properly. You're liable because you're forcing the public.
And then the next
Customers around and say, I'm paying out of my pocket. I don't see my gas, I'm a small shop, I'm a large shop. I sit there and say, I refuse to fix it for your children, all this, and these the public could care less. They don't even want to pay the fuck. I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying he's really directing it to insurance, but I say, you take responsibility, fix the car like it's supposed to. It's a used car being sold. And you have a guarantee that's been repaired, but it's all OEM. You're buying a car with OEM, not those what else you sign for. It's consumerism thing. Like you're saying, as far as I'm concerned. Car manufacturers never going after that. Consumer affairs is never really going after that for consumerism. It's an area that nobody seems to want to approach with that insurance card.
Well, we're going to have to go after the insurance companies to finally get them into the game. They got to get in the game. And not the bullying game, but the paying game. Yes, sir.
The backlash that I've been having is that when you try and fight with the person faces that means that you do not have a contract with the insurance company. We have a contract with the consumer. And that creates a whole other problem.
That's when you get the partnership with you and the consumer together. You got them on the front, you got them on the back, the insurance company's in the middle, and you're squeezing them together. That's what you guys for too long have forgotten. Y'all have a voice in the customer. Only recently have I started seeing people where the customer is starting to be involved in the decision making because the repair shop, the safety experts are getting them involved and saying, you need to chime in and it's time for you to get in the arena with me. Because they're tired of hearing from me. They want to hear from the guy that's got the contract with them. You got to get your clients engaged, the customers engaged, and start the email chain. Every time you send an email to a claims adjuster, to a claims estimator, you put your client on the email, and then when they come back and sit there and say, you need to BCC them and say, you need to engage right now. If you want your car fixed the right way to carry your children in it, engage. Man up. That's what you need to do. All of you. Anyone else? Oh, yes, sir.
You got on your display there, you know, with the accident, you use all aftermarket parts on that collision and stuff, or you put a bunch of aftermarket parts. What if it was only one part, a hood or a fender? Now, where are you going to go after the insurance company to say, how do you prove that that part is not good?
Well, then that's what you got to. Then what's going to happen is, you know, if you're repairing a hood, okay, because of a frontal impact, more than likely you're going to be repairing the radiator core support. More than likely, okay. You're not
replacing it. You might just be repairing the rad support, replacing the hood. They put only an aftermarket hood on it, and how are you going to fight that?
Well,
when
I'll tell you
CAPA
this.
Certified Automotive Parts Association saying it's certified and stuff, that it is of the same quality. How do you prove that difference to the insurance company?
You just given me an idea for a new crash test. I am going to run a crash test with parts that were repaired. I am a firm believer that parts should not be repaired. I think that parts should be like child seats. If you were involved in a car accident one time, the child seat should be thrown away. If you were involved in a frontal impact and the airbag fires, the seat needs to be replaced. That's the speech I'm going to give in March. I'm going to teach you how to think like a safety engineer when you do estimates on vehicles. Did you know when you're involved in a frontal impact in the airbag fires, you need to replace the seats because the seat pan has deformed, or the springs inside the seat cushion had deformed, because there's a seat feature called the anti-submarine seat feature that's good for one accident. You need to be asking questions like this. How many people were in the accident? How big were they? Why do you care? Well, because if you've got an adult sitting in the rear seat on a frontal impact, you need to take the seat panel off, and you need to look at the perimeter frame and see if there's damage to it. On vehicles where there's a side impact, you need to take the trim piece off along the side rail and look at the energy-absorbing capsules. If you're not doing that, you're not doing your job. They're only good for one impact. Those of you who've been doing this long enough, remember the old A-pillars years ago that had air gap padding. Remember that? We don't have that anymore. What we've got is we've got energy management systems in place with the capsules, the energy management capsules. I can teach you guys how to document your files. Do you ever ask in a frontal impact where the airbag's deployed, what you have in the trunk? Anybody ever ask that question? Why do you give a shit? Whatever's in the trunk's got to go forward. And it's going to damage the back of the rear seats. And it's going to take the clips and it's going to damage them, such that when there's somebody in there in the next accident, it's not going to withstand the same kind of load. You need to be thinking outside the box at all times now, folks. This is not 10 years ago. Technology is rapidly taking place. This is big stuff. This is why what you do matters. I really believe it. Yes, ma'am.
I think that what would happen with a lot of this, I agree a lot of stuff should be replaced. But what's going to start happening is that we're going to start totaling cars, and the economy that we create will get affected by it.
And you know what? That may be the case. But you know what? You were concerned enough earlier that you wanted to go back. You wanted to go back years and years ago. So you know what? I'd rather you total a car rather than miss something. Okay? And I think you would too, based on the kind of question that you asked me earlier.
A majority of the total cars that are in the United States now get resold out in other countries.
Oh yeah, they should. Here's another, which brings you to a completely different issue. You know about salvage titles? Oh my God. Well, how about all those hurricane vehicles down in Houston? They shipped them out of Texas down to some other state, retitled them. Now they're going to ship them back down to Texas, and guess what? You think those pre-tensioners and load limiters are going to fire? The sensors on those cars were underwater. They're not going to work the same. And the pre and the post scans aren't going to pick them up, because the pre and post scans on most of the algorithms only pick up the front bags. They don't pick up the pre-tensioner. They don't pick up the load limiter. They don't pick up the side curtain. That's why we've got to convince it. We've got to educate and inform. You guys have got to be professors teaching your clients and the insurance companies the right way to do things. Thank y'all very much.
Wow. I hope you guys are all taking something home today. And like I said earlier, what are you going to do with that information once you get back? How long are you going to continue that stride? I want to call it a fight. But at the end of the day, Todd's right. It's all about the customer. And I used to say this for years. I'm able to fix a car, put a family in it, and head down to AC at 85 miles an hour for, at the time, it was $45 an hour. But when the lawnmower shop was getting $85 an hour at a time, it's tough to swallow. But not here to bash anything or anybody, the insurance companies. This is not what this is all about. It's about sharing information. They said there's strength in numbers. We have to start sticking together. And if everybody start pulling in the same direction, there's going to be change. You know, and I know there's few in here that have said, you know, how hard it is to turn the ship. It's tough in those big companies. They're bean counters. And all they count are beans. And you know, a few years back, well, I say a few years, 10, 12 years ago, I did this for about 3 years. I took a company that paid for all OEM parts. I took an insurance company that paid all aftermarket parts. And I'm a direct repair for both of them. And the aftermarket parts for that insurance company, their severities were $1,000 higher in my shop. And I preached that and I talked to that, and let me tell you, I can't tell you how many people, or how many insurance companies just ignored it. It's true. I can't tell you how many insurance appraisers I've spoken to about coming here today. And the first word is, what lawsuit out of Texas? You know, it's like they're already setting their ways and trying to get what they want. And I'm sure that all the big insurance companies are paying attention to what's taking place down there. However, when it starts trickling down to the street where we're at, what are you doing about it? We don't fight with anybody in my shop. We just try to educate them. We try to do the right thing on every single thing that comes in, and we just explain. And I can't tell you how many insurance companies tell me, I pay you more than anybody else. Well, you're not really paying me any more than what you should be paying. What you're doing is you're underpaying them. So if you're in their shop and you're taking advantage of them and their lack of experience, that has no bearing on me. So I'm glad you all came out today. I appreciate every one of you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the future. And going back to some of your things, the association is going to have some training classes we're going to talk about tonight also, about some of those things. Like I said, who is capital? I have a few things I was going to share tonight, but we decided not to do it tonight. We just wanted it to be all about Todd. All right, so Todd, we thank you for coming. It's a pleasure to have you, and we certainly look forward to having you again in March at the Northeast Trade Show.